So we're starting a new book summary, which is Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And I took a long time to get to this book, to read this book, because I never knew. I always saw Sinek, giving TED Talks and speeches and being interviewed. And I never knew if he was more of a researcher or more of a marketer, if it's more of a fluff talk or a serious book. Turns out he's actually is more of a marketer than a researcher, but still, I found the book. The book could be an article, and it is a TED talk. It could be way shorter, at least, because he repeats himself a lot of times. But it is a very valuable idea, and I really liked it. The idea, not the book in itself, and I have some criticism about some of the ideas, but it is a powerful idea. And I'm going to share with you the summary and the most important parts of it and how you can apply it to your life. So, the start of the book, I think it's very powerful because he says, and it's true, most people hate their jobs. I forgot the exact statistic, but it's something like 80%, something around that. Most people hate their jobs. And in this book, there's a lot of things about individuals and a lot of things about companies that are very similar. Both have to find their why, have to start with why. And same thing applies here. Most people hate their jobs, and most companies are mediocre or fail after a while. And the reason is the same. They don't start with why. What happens is we as people and those companies, we use manipulations to get people to do what they want and to get ourselves to do what we have to do. So what does manipulation mean? It means carrot and stick, basically. Some reward for doing something. So if I want to if a company wants me to perform better at my job, they can give me a raise, or they can dangle a promotion, a future promotion in front of me, so I can get up every day and do a good job. And if they want customers to buy their products, they can lower the prices or have some special conditions for buying. And those are okay, but they work for the short term. If it is a one-time deal, or something that starts and ends in a short term period, it is okay. It works. It is nice. It's a transaction. But that's not what makes us get up in the morning, with energy, happy to do something, because it's not our why. And that's not why we fall in love with companies. Like, for instance, people who love Apple or people who love traveling by Southwest. That's not why they fell in love with those companies. It's not because of prices or conditions or easy installments, stuff like that. That's not why they fell in love with the companies. So here it is important to have the distinction between three characteristics or three actions or factors, which are what, how, and why. We usually focus on what, and that's where the manipulations, that's their realm. That's where they live. What is the most visible thing, the most visible part of a company. A company makes cars. The cars are the what, and you do your job. You are an accountant. You deal with spreadsheets. That's your what. That's what you do. That's the visible result. The how is how you do that. Do you do your spreadsheets in Excel, Google Sheets? Do you do a draft beforehand, or do you improvise? The same thing with companies. They make cars. How do they do it? They they focus on design. They focus on being hybrids. That's kind of a before the what can happen, how happens. Like, they use different materials to make the car. That's more of the why factor. And finally, why? Why do they make cars, or why do you do the numbers? Why do you do the spreadsheets? We usually focus on the what because it's more visible. It's easier to do that. But in doing that, we end up doing stuff we don't like, and companies they produce things that we don't want. So we have to start with why. We have to have a reason to do stuff as companies or as individuals, and then we think on how we will do, how we will materialize that, and what the end result will be. So we have to get this order right. A classical case that Sinek tells about in the book are railroad companies, which used to be huge when railroads started being built in the United States. They were huge and hugely influential, lots of money, lots of power. They dominated the country. But as time went by and cheaper forms of transportation, of land transportation popped up and airplanes popped up, those companies became more of, they started playing second fiddle or third fiddle. And nowadays they are nowhere near where they used to be in terms of money and power. That's because they focused solely on what they were doing. They were dealing with railroads, and they forgot their mission, their true why, the true why of what they were doing, which is moving a lot of people around the country. So when airplanes popped up, they became a viable form of transportation. Those companies, if they had their mission in mind, they could have said, "Oh, okay, airplanes are an option now, so we should integrate them in our network of transportation." And that's a new and different way of moving people around the country. So we're going to do that as well. And so we can only imagine what would have happened if they did that. We would have a totally different landscape in the airline industry. So that's the introduction of the book. I think it's a very interesting idea, and we're going to explore more of those ideas, especially as it concerns the individual. I think that's the best lesson in the book. And we're going to do that in the next video. And I hope this was interesting so far. So stay tuned until the next one.